Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's Podcast. Today on Calgary's podcast, joining me is Magdalena Chish, who is a certified health coach and a public speaker. Thanks, Magdalena, for joining us today.
Thanks for pronouncing my name and last name perfectly. It's a
I'll
skill.
forget it by the end of the podcast. I'll forget it. I'll
That's
butcher
okay. You
it.
nailed it once.
So tell me a little bit about yourself, Magdalena, what you do.
Sure, I do a lot of different things. So I actually used to work with immigrants for 14 years as a settlement counselor,
Uh-huh.
helping French, Spanish, Polish, and English speaking immigrants settle into the city.
Mhm.
So I really enjoy helping people. And now I transitioned into health coaching. So as a health coach, I help people in different settings, one-on-one and group and in the corporate world. So my areas of expertise are helping people with mental health. So dealing with anxiety, depression, learning how to better manage stress, learning how to even see stress from a different perspective. So a lot of it is kind of I guess it would be kind of like mindset shift, but just showing people a different way of looking at things.
Mhm.
I also have an online weight loss program. It's called Wellness and Weight Loss because the focus really is wellness
Yeah.
and weight loss is just a side effect. I barely talk about weight in the program. I just teach people how to take better care of their bodies and teach them hacks on how to
Yeah.
improve metabolism, boost energy levels easily. And then I also run corporate wellness workshops for companies, all types of companies, engineering firms, startups, tech companies, medical offices. The workshops are on stress management, leadership skills, and wellness. So things like nutrition, physical fitness. And a new thing that I'm starting now is I want to start coaching small groups of upper management staff, so executives, on an ongoing basis, and then start incorporating the workshops as just a part of the coaching.
Mm.
And the workshops I give to all employees, like whatever staff wants to attend. Yeah.
So when you're looking at this whole mental health picture, Magdalena, are you seeing greater levels of distress out there with people, especially having gone through the few years of the pandemic and now obviously the economic challenges out there? There are more people with mental health issues.
Yes. Which is why the short answer is yes, which is why I actually created a brand new workshop called Mental Health and Suicide Prevention.
Mm.
Because one thing I noticed among people that I know is a rise in suicide levels. I think because of the level of stress that people are experiencing. Yeah.
Why do you think this is happening? Obviously this has been, mental health issues have been there for forever, right? And we've always had these issues out there in challenges in the world, but it just seems to be heightened now. Why?
Yeah. Okay. Well, one thing talking about the pandemic, I think it showed people that they have less security and control over their lives than they think.
Yeah.
Which interestingly enough, control over your life is an illusion anyway, and that's what I teach people.
Mm.
But that perceived level of control suddenly disappeared, and that can cause stress to the mind that doesn't understand how it works. So I help people to understand how their mind works to help dissipate stress. But anyway, so that's one thing. And then I think technology, first of all, the actual physical radiation that comes from technology, like the different wavelengths that they call EMFs,
Mm.
that come from everything like, I mean, microwaves, TVs, laptops, modems, our cell phones. We're literally bombarded with this, and a lot of people are sensitive to that and they don't notice. Um, I find also maybe since the pandemic too, people feel like they really got to hustle to make ends meet.
Mm.
And then, of course, with inflation, everything's more expensive. We got to work harder to make kind of the same amount of money, but everything's now expensive.
Yeah.
And so that need to have to work a lot is another thing. And then again, like this addiction to technology, like social media, cell phones, we're constantly, our brains are not meant to go so fast.
Yeah.
And with all this information overload, which is great, it's very convenient and helpful, but at the same time, it's just taxing on our primitive brains that they're not adapting as quickly as technology is evolving. So
Yeah.
that's what I see is happening.
I think I saw something the other day where your people are, especially younger people, spending like 7 hours a day on TikTok. Like holy smoke. It's
Yeah.
crazy, right? What are the consequences of mental health issues, like on physical health?
Oh, there's so many. I mean, honestly, any health, not any, but I'd say 75%, according to studies, of of physical conditions can be traced back to stress. And different emotions can impact different parts of the body. So if you're constantly dealing with feelings of grief, and to me, any emotion that's uncomfortable is a type of stress.
Yeah,
So feelings of grief, for example, that are not processed end up resulting in lung issues. Feelings of anger and resentment can result in cancer for some people. I'm not saying that it always causes that. It could be other causes. Sometimes it's hard to know what it is, but there's definitely a direct relation. Um, Cortisol levels go up, so your hormones start to become imbalanced. Your sleep cycle is off when your cortisol is up due to stress.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a very direct relation actually between stress and wellness. Yeah.
And what are you finding in terms of the demographics? Is this the mental health issues hitting people who are younger more than it's hitting that people that are older, or is it just the same across the board?
Yeah, I haven't really done research, and I tend to work with adults
Yeah.
between 30 and 60 years of age.
Okay.
But what I've noticed when it comes to suicide, I have, again, this is anecdotal, I haven't done the research, but I've noticed among people that I've known, suicide rates tend to be higher among males, again, between 30 and 50 years old. That's what I've noticed. So
Yeah.
I don't know if men tend to experience stress more strongly, maybe because they don't have the support, they haven't been taught to be more open. Women tend to be more inclined to share their feelings, to find supports, and men feel like they have to do everything on their own and the burden
Yeah.
is on their shoulders alone. Yeah.
I'm thinking now because I've had that happen on a personal level, knowing people that have committed suicide, and then just recently one of the golfers on the PGA tour who was quite young, the same thing. And uh, I guess when you're talking about being open, like for men, and actually for anybody, I guess. Uh, Internalizing everything is not good, right? And keeping everything inside. Like, what's the key to start to, I guess, overcome some of this stuff?
For sure. So there are many things you can do. Um, one thing is just to release your emotion, whatever that may look like. And I don't mean if you're angry, go yell at somebody. I mean, release it in a non-hurtful, productive way. So it could be go to the gym. Like working out is an amazing way to
Hmm.
maintain mental health. Like punching bags.
Oh
It
yeah,
could it could be screaming, like not at somebody though, screaming into a pillow or
yeah,
screaming in your car or going outside where there's nobody and just screaming in the air. So having a release is very helpful. Another way to release emotion, honestly, I find going into nature is
hmm,
very helpful, and grounding. So have you heard of grounding in the
yep,
sense of putting your feet directly on the earth? What literally physically happens on an electromagnetic level is that when you're standing on the earth barefoot, especially if the ground is wet, so it could be sand by the ocean that's a little bit moist,
hmm,
or the morning dew, or just after it rains, the grass, it increases the electrical current. And what happens is that the positive ions, which are stress creating and disease creating ions, get absorbed out of your body into the earth.
hmm,
So get released into the earth absorbs it, and then the earth releases negative ions into your body, which are the calming ions, the ones that produce wellness and feeling grounded and calm. That literally physically happens in your body. So
Mm.
that's one way. Again, if you're processing emotions, just getting yourself grounded. Listening to certain types of music is helpful too. Like if you're feeling very low, I would suggest a more upbeat music. The frequency of the music affects your brain and your body, actually, the cells in your body.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling very anxious, and I wouldn't suggest putting on heavy metal or EDM, I would suggest classical music or meditative music or just something joyful and calm. Yeah, so those are some ways to start to process emotions. And once you start doing that, you can become more open to also sharing. And I mean, I see some men's groups starting up more and more.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so for men who are looking for support, just do some research on men's group. And I've attended some because sometimes they have things open for women to attend to. They're very inviting. They're very conscious and evolved and helpful. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you know who Deepak Chopra is?
Yes.
Okay. So years ago, when I
I
was a
want to know who doesn't know who that is.
yeah, years ago when I was a reporter at the Calgary Herald, I remember him coming to Calgary to do one of these big conferences and workshops, and it was at the convention center, and the first thing he's told people was to sit, close your eyes and sit quietly. And it was the toughest thing for people to do, right? And he that was the point he was making is that, and I'm wondering if have we lost because of the busyness and the technology out there, have we lost the ability to be still and to be silent? And what are the consequences of that?
Yes, yes, we have. So stillness, and then I forgot to breath work is an amazing way to get grounded and release emotions. Incredible way to do that. But yes, we definitely have. And the thing is, with, like I mentioned before, technology, when your notifications are going off all the time, when you're receiving emails, texts, just like all this information overload, we also get a dopamine hit from all of that, and we get used to it. It becomes an addiction, kind of like you start smoking and then you need more cigarettes more often because you get that instant gratification feeling. And the same thing happens with technology. And so our brains, it's like we're overproducing dopamine, and when you overproduce something, then after time you're not producing enough of it, so now you're needing that hit from technology. And it's really hard for us to stay still because we get bored and we have this feeling that we need something from the outside to give us like that hit,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
good kind of hit. Yeah, so I think that's what's happening. It's just we get bored so easily because we're used to being bombarded
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about your corporate wellness work. Have you seen more of a willingness by companies to do stuff like this for employees? Have they recognizing the problems and issues out there?
For sure. And I do think the pandemic was a big wake-up call of just how important mental and physical health is for people, and to foster that within companies.
Yeah. What are they what are they looking at when they're looking at this in terms of how it impacts their operations? Like when people are sick, and mentally ill, how does that impact a company's how it
Oh,
operates and what it does?
so many ways. I mean, it impacts productivity levels at work.
Yeah.
It impacts performance, the quality of the performance. As you said yourself, absenteeism. So when people are taking less stress leave, less sick days because they're supporting their mental and physical health, of course, that's helpful. Safety in the workplace as well. When people are more present and they're not in pain and they're not distracted by something going on in their body, there's more safety, especially like in the oil fields, right? When they're operating machinery and yeah. And when people are sleeping better, they have more alertness, so they can catch mistakes easier. It's a huge impact, honestly. And I always say, like, if you don't have your health, you have nothing in a way. Like, I understand you can have a greater connection to something outside of you, even if you're unwell, but it's just hard to live in the world and be productive when you don't have your health. It
Yeah.
impacts everything. Yeah.
Mm. I wanted to ask you one other thing and of what you do and dancing. Tell me,
Yeah.
sorry, your eyes lit up when I said that. Tell me about dancing and what part and role that plays in your life.
Yeah, so I started off with actually swing dancing when I was 17 years old, was my very first class that I took. And after that, a friend invited me to a salsa class, one lesson. And ever since, I kept dancing Latin dancing. And there was a period of time where I went out to practice salsa dancing 4 nights a week for an entire year.
Oh, wow.
Then I took some breaks, but yeah, I've been dancing salsa since I was 18 years old. And I love it. It's just such a form of stress relief and self-expression and being creative. But what I started doing in the last 5 years, more recently, is something called free flow dance. And again, that's even more tapping into my own creativity and self-expression. And that's through the use of props like these LED wings that light up. So like angelic wings
Yeah.
and silk fans, like these long fans that I play around with. And then I dress up and I put jewels on my face, and it's a whole like costume that I put on. And basically, yeah, so I started doing this at church as a form of prayer and meditation. And
Cool.
then I decided I like dancing to all types of music. So I started dancing in my living room, like this one right here. And then now I dance for all types of events. So it could be corporate parties, it could be Christmas parties, birthday parties. Sometimes at the nightclub, I'll dance. This Friday, actually, if you'd like to join, there's a photo exhibit, a black and white photo exhibit that this photographer is putting on. I'll be dancing at that event as well. So yeah, and I just love bringing my wings and costumes and dance to all types of music, and people love it. It's just very inspiring, and I feel like it shows them that they can tap into their own creativity and their own self-expression. And that's what I love about doing it, is to help people feel that within themselves too.
So do you find that the dancing and obviously with music um, kind of takes you away from 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 the reality as of what is there that may be bothering you or whatever, right?
100%. Yes. Such a form of stress relief. And sometimes when I'm too tense and stressed, I'll go to the gym with my flags, and then I just, as it's so flowy and like free flowing, that my body just starts to relax and all the tension just goes away.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm laughing because a confession time, right? I so
Uh-huh.
yes, so yesterday I was in that mood of listening to music, right? And so I had the music blaring away as I was working, and then every once in a while a certain song would catch my attention, and I would be up in my living room just dancing away.
Love it.
And
Yeah,
I
and you don't need props, right? You can just
no,
dance.
and then I
Mhm.
found that, you know what, mentally and my frame of mind for the rest of that day was one of the best days I've had in in a few days.
That's awesome. I love that. Yes, dancing is for everyone, and it can look however you want it. It just means moving your body.
Yeah,
Yeah. Awesome.
exactly. All right. Just a little background on you, Magdalena. Where are you from?
I was born in Poland.
Okay, and how long you been in Calgary?
So I came to Saskatoon when I was 6.5.
Oh, wow.
And when I was 7.5, we moved to Calgary with my family. So I'm 42 now. So however long that is ago.
And what do you, as a, as an entrepreneur and and what you do, how do you find living and working in Calgary and running a business?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't really ran business outside of Calgary, so I don't know much different, but I feel like there's a lot of growth happening. Like you mentioned, a lot more companies open to what I'm doing right now. There's a lot of people coming into the city,
Yeah.
so that's good. I
growing.
connect with a lot of different entrepreneurs. There's tons of networking events. I find, yeah, it's getting better for sure for entrepreneurs
All
in my
right.
eye.
Wonderful. Well, thanks very much, Magdalena, for joining us today.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity.
All right, super. That was Magdalena Chish, who is a certified health coach and public speaker in Calgary. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's podcast, today on Calgary's podcast. Thanks for joining us.